Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. How low can you go? 58%. The journey.
We can go a second step. This is literally only the second in the journey.
Another
But
notch. I forgot how good it feels to like slowly work your way down. I look forward to when we can't remember the percentage.
right, that which will happen in like 7 episodes.
What is this? 62? 63?
You do a good imitation of us.
That's us in retrospect.
Impressive, right
Yeah.
in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So 58%.
Taste the Blood of Dracula. Which, by the way, just right from the start, this title is hilarious. I didn't know how funny this title was till I watched the movie, because it really should be Drink the Blood of Dracula, because that's what the ritual in the movie requires. But it's Taste the Blood of Dracula because everyone in the movie's afraid to actually chug the blood of Dracula.
I don't blame
They're like
them.
looking at it. One guy literally is looking at a goblet of it and he's like, drink. He's like, you drink this filth. So it's just taste. It's like, I'm just going to
Sample the blood of Dracula.
Sample the blood of Dracula, right? So the title just in and of itself is hilarious. And I also just want to thank everybody who reviewed this movie poorly in the past, all of you, because it's weird how that process works. You can do people a huge favor by reviewing this movie poorly. It meant that I had never watched it because I just assumed it was crap. And I like Hammer movies a lot, and I've seen almost every Hammer Dracula I thought, but I had never seen this one, weirdly, because I've seen some of the other ones multiple times.
Did we do any Hammer in the last Hello?
We might have done, because it's my favorite. We might have done Dracula has Risen from the Grave, which is the direct prequel to the movie we're about to talk about. Like, it literally picks up chronologically, like Halloween 1, Halloween 2.
The one with Jack.
No, that's a whole different thing. We may not have done it officially, but I feel like I would have dragged it in at some point because I love that movie.
I don't recall.
But we definitely did. We did a couple of. We did Dan Curtis's Dracula, and I can't remember if we did. Did we do Jack Palance's Dracula? I think we did that.
That's the one. Yeah, because that one had the really cool
that's
shot.
the Dan Curtis one. That's the one with the which shit? Cool shot.
Oh, where oh god, Jonathan's like leaning outside the window, and you see how massive.
Oh, weird! It just popped into my head. Yeah. Right. We talked about it.
It looks like a classical painting.
Yes.
So if we didn't do a Hammer horror film,
this would be our first.
This would be our first. And did we watch any Hammer horror when we went to like the screenings or the movies with like Garen?
No, not at all.
So this might have been like the first Hammer horror film that I've completely sat through front to back.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah,
right.
Because I've just never sat down to like, you know.
Interesting. What a weird start for you, because this is one of the things that I really like about this movie is that it's really unlike the other Hammer movies that I've seen. Like, it's very strange. It's almost refreshing because a lot of the other ones got repetitive, but this one's very strange.
This one is strange, and it makes me excited to like finally watch like their Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy. They did Mummy, right? Like,
so Christopher Lee did the Mummy, which was excellent. So the Dracula series itself, which is incredible, until arguably the end of it, starts with Horror of Dracula, which is the one you've seen all the stills from with Peter Cushing fighting Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
and it goes. I mean, there are a lot of really good Hammer Dracula like movies, but also unrelated to Christopher Lee. They also had Bride's Dracula and all kinds of cool stuff. So you'll find some good movies in there, but this is a weird start for you.
Very.
But let's talk about Taste the Blood of Dracula. So I thought, like, because the odds are a lot of people who would be listening to this wouldn't have seen it. So I figured I would just give a brief like synopsis of it, and then very brief, and then we can take it chronologically, right? Because there's really only 3 acts, maybe,
and it's an hour and a half that feels like 48 minutes. It's really weird.
Right? It's like a Dark Shadows episode.
It's very short.
So basically, it picks up immediately after the ending of the previous film. Like I said, Dracula's Risen from the Grave. As a matter of fact, there's a cut to scene from that movie because the character we first meet in this movie is literally coming upon Dracula's death scene that we just witnessed in the old one.
And that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that guy.
I think I wanted to see if it's the same person. I think it is Roy Kinnear. I'm trying to look up his thing because he was in. Okay, so that was definitely Willy Wonka. I just want to see if he was in. I'm going to his Wikipedia. No, filmography. There it is. Hold on. I just have to know this before because it was 1970. Doesn't say.
There's a
No,
James...
it is. Okay, so that guy in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
I think it was who's Veruca? Is that the woman the girl who blows up? I think that's her parental figure. I think I don't remember, but it's definitely the dude from Willy Wonka.
Right, and the guy that I think of as the actual villain of this movie, which is the father, the first father we meet of the three, the three maniacs, Joffrey Keane, is an incredible actor, but he was in James Bond. He was Sir Freddie Gray. So
Oh, wow.
but I mean, it's Hammer. So these people have done like hundreds of movies and shows and whatnot.
It's over in Europe, so it's just...
But anyway, so Dracula, when we meet him, is a hilarious just line of powder. Right? He's just red powder.
He's cool. He's like the red Kool-Aid
on the ground. Right, exactly. So he's like a cherry Jello packet just blew open.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's just there, but somehow he's going to get resurrected through this guy who I think was meant to be the person who replaces Christopher Lee as the series went forward. So they were trying to get rid of Christopher Lee, not get rid of, but they were anticipating he wasn't going to return because he always seemed like he was going to say no to doing any more, right? So they were trying to like pass the baton to this guy, and this guy's not going to make it through this movie because Christopher Lee came back for, I don't know, 12 minutes of the movie, right?
Yeah, I think Cinemassacre did it. I watched the Cinemassacre video when he did it on Monster Madness.
Okay.
And he counted like 28 words from Dracula from Christopher Lee in this movie.
Well, I mean, he made him count. As a matter of fact, some of the words are numbers.
Oh, he is the count. Make him count.
I'm imagining, right? So, but the thing is, so you like the guy. I actually, I'm having a really good time, but I'm gonna fight a little bit for this movie. So I thought the sense of dread. First of all, this movie pulled the Jaws. Horror fans always act like this is what they want, and they talk about this story like the Jaws, the robot wouldn't work, and Steven Spielberg couldn't show it as much as he wanted to, and it turned out to be exactly what the movie needed, and we all take that as gospel and say, that's true or whatever. Well, in this one, they keep hinting at and building up to Dracula, but you're not seeing him. It's almost like Christopher Lee was a robot that wasn't functioning because it seems like you're about to see him in the next scene, but then you don't. But I like it this way for one time because he should be actually scary. And the build up to him is always scarier than the actual him in the Hammer movies. It's because what he's there to do is he's there to have that incredible presence. It's him, you looking at him and him looming over something or moving threateningly towards something. That's what's scary about him. It's never the actual like go in for the bite or jump from rooftop to rooftop, or he's not doing action stuff, right? To scare you. This isn't 30 Days a Night. He's not going to scare you the way like Marlowe would. So he has a different way to scare you. That's what he's there to do, right? So because his reputation is kind of scarier than the actual guy, I like that we get one movie where people keep talking about, oh my God, he's right around the corner, or he might be showing up, or is this his, or am I possessed by him? And they're all scared, and I believe it, which is good because a lot of times with Hammer movies, you don't believe it.
Yeah, there's a few times when like, they're like Dracula, the most feared man.
Right, exactly.
Whatever, yeah.
But this one I felt like actually, because it did the Jaws, I felt like when he showed up, it was just enough to not get corny. It was still sinister. It still worked, which I thought was really cool.
It's weird. I agree.
Uh-huh.
but knowing, and I think going into the movie knowing that they wrote it thinking he wasn't coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely feels like that.
Oh, for sure.
And if you're just gonna watch it now and you just heard that, my apologies.
Right? No. Of course, we're gonna spoilers galore.
It's so like it. I agree, it worked. Like when he showed up,
right?
It felt really like it wasn't like
it
just
accidentally worked. That's why I said the Jaws thing. But you can tell that's what's happening. Sure.
You can tell that like it feels like Christopher Lee's just kind of phoning it in.
You feel like he's doing the Marlon Brando Superman thing.
Yeah,
he's there for like 4 lines and collect $1 million.
Like he was doing it because he was like, it doesn't feel like he wanted to be bringing the menace. He was just bringing the.
That's so weird because I feel like I can see why you would feel that, but we're coming at it from such different angles because this is your first complete watching through a Hammer movie, right?
That's also why I wanted to go back now and watch Dracula,
right?
Because they were like, remember the red eyes? Because every other shot they're gonna do the red eye, which it's. But I'll be honest, it still looks really cool.
It does.
Like it still looks really cool. And half the shots, there's also something I noticed. The only person who gets good close-ups in the whole movie is Christopher Lee. The close-ups of everyone else looks like, it looks like great gas station camera quality, just like in their face, like it's their face is like fish-eyed because they're so close to the lens.
It's totally true.
It looks awful, but every close-up of Christopher Lee looks great because he's Dracula.
Totally. And they, there are some weird, almost art house like David Lynch touches in this movie, which I don't remember from Hammer movies. I remember Hammer movies looking like classically filmed, where you're watching like Lawrence Arabia Gone with the Wind, just on a really low budget. Like they're not breaking any of those rules with fancy. You're not getting Sam Raimi camera rushes in Hammer movies, right? So this movie, all of a sudden, we're with this guy in this carriage. He's trying to sell someone something, and he goes, look how beautiful it is. It's like a snow globe. He goes, look how beautiful it is. And the camera focuses through the snow globe on his big, ugly, hideous face and nothing of the snow globe. And it keeps saying, look how beautiful. And it's the most disgusting shot in the entire film, which feels like on purpose, right? Yeah. Like something David Lynch would do, but you don't expect from a Hammer movie. And there were other moments where they were doing, there's amazing, believe it or not, I love the relationship between the mom and the daughter. I think they're tremendous. They have chemistry together, which is weird for when you think about parent-child. Like we talk about romantic chemistry between actors, but there's like parental, and I totally buy. Yeah. Like there's times where they have the same facial expressions or whatever, but they're in a scene and there's this weird camera cutting where sometimes you're seeing one of them in a mirror, like Citizen
That was one of my
notes.
So I got my notes here. That was one of the things I said. Mother-daughter scene shot well. Like
really?
Yeah.
Wait, because we did not talk to each other.
Yeah, no, that was really standout.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But there were things that were almost metaphorical that were happening with the camera, where she's like. The mom's like, I was young once. I understand what you're going through. I was a little girl once. And the camera cuts and she's foregrounded by a doll. Like she was like, I'm a little girl, and it literally cuts to what she might have looked like. Like that's what I'm saying. There's these weird arty touches that I just don't remember Hammer movies doing, except maybe accidentally. And now there's 5 or 6 of them, great ones in this movie, which is interesting.
Well, just to go back just a little bit to after. The dude packs up gelatin Dracula.
Yes, right. Saves the relics of Dracula.
Yeah, when they're leaving the church, I thought that was really cool. So like it kind of like follows the people coming out, but then the camera's stationary, and everyone who's like a main player in the movie like walks in and has a bit of dialogue and walks out. Yep. And I thought it was a really
Wes Anderson, the almost.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was, and it was a great way of just introducing us to all the cast and being able to get just like a snippet of what they're about. Yep. And then by the time the camera cuts to Paul, I think they go to do some other bullshit. Right. Right. You kind of know everyone. You know like who you're working with, and I thought that it was really slick.
And you liked how? Were there any other scenes you wrote down like well shot, or we might as well talk about how it looks while we're talking about?
Well, being my first, what I believe is my first Hammer horror film, I have a feeling a name's gonna pop up for another one. Like, yeah, I saw that one. Yes. Knowing what Hammer is known for, like costume, atmosphere, colors, like this checked all of them immediately. Like the costumes were amazing. Right. What did you want to talk about? The cameras? Or?
So the shots, I remember I sent you a screenshot of one. There was actually a shot where it looked like, I called it Evil Alice in Wonderland. They were in this weird hedge, shining, almost maze-looking thing, but they were in a little spot of light at the end of it, and it just got darker and darker and darker, like Dracula's cape was right behind him. And it was I mean, again, I don't remember... Hammer. I remember vivid colors from Hammer and amazing atmosphere visuals and like striking sets and whatnot. But there's a weird poetry to some of this that I was just like.
Well, it's funny because I don't have a. I was trying to see if I had any other like notes of like, oh, the show was great. A lot of them were just like story things and story beats that it hit, and I don't know. For some reason, I might have thought like maybe the writing in Hammer was less because they amped up the violence and the colors.
It was gorier than the Universal.
Yeah, so like for some reason I don't know why I would assume that, but there was a lot of like really good things within the story that they really knocked out. One of them, and I thought this was really slick because it happens just like really fast, and it really doesn't bear much significance to this overall story. But I think
there's a few of those.
yeah, but it's I think it's just a little character piece, so you kind of understand. So like the carriage ride when the three gentlemen get in.
Yes,
there's the dialogue is really slick at telling you the power dynamic of the three.
Yes.
So the first guy's in the carriage, the second guy gets in, he goes, "Oh, you're a little late." And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm on time." And then they pick up the third guy who is supposed to be like, the leader of the pack is how I viewed it. He gives something to him too. He starts giving him some shit of like, we're late, and he goes, "No, we're actually right on time." And then the other guy kind of looks at the guy who's trying to be a time cop, and you kind of just see, oh, okay, so the guy who got in last is the leader of the pack, the guy got in second is second, the third guy's third, and it was just it didn't.
Yes, you know what I had in my notes for that scene?
What?
Oh, hello, Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the carriage scene in Hateful Eight, and it's literally as skillful as just in terms of introducing the characters quickly.
Yeah, you get to know like who sort of sits where in the hierarchy based off this insignificant conversation about time.
Totally.
Just cool shit.
So like, can we stick on these guys for a second, because they partially make this movie. They didn't die in the order I expected them to, right?
No.
I didn't think they died in the order of significance. Their jaded, seeking out new pleasures like Hellraiser shit they were doing was, first of all, it was a great plot twist that I didn't expect, only because the Joffrey Keane, the first guy, played it so well of being like the boring conservative banker type, right? That I just didn't expect this side they're trying to sell me that he was having. But then you totally believe it, because they're on a mission. Like, they are on a mission
of the weird,
right? But the force at which they're on that mission was cool. Like, I didn't expect them to take so much time up in the movie, and then I started to resent it because there was less Christopher Lee from it, but then they totally sold me on it, which
the three guys dynamic kind of reminded me of like The Hangover. Like they were just gonna
right,
like they were just gonna get into some real weird shit real fast.
Totally.
And pay,
and they do. I mean, there's someone in the credits of the movie called Snake Lady.
I noticed that.
So
yeah, that's actually like the last credit,
and it's because of these guys. So they're they definitely are on. So they basically are bored with their seeking out like the pleasures of the night, and they run into a younger version of themselves, I guess, like a ne'er-do-well guy who says, "Oh, if you're bored, I know the true pleasure for the jaded people. It's sell your soul to the devil." And they sort of agree, just okay, because you can tell they don't believe, they're not buying.
Yeah, and when they're back there with all the women and trying to drink in and like having a hoot and holler in time, one of them makes a point. The gross dad, who we'll get to later, says like 3 or 4 times, like, "I'm getting bored with everything," and this guy's like, "Well, we have great things for you," and
by the way, that guy has an amazing him. I know he had an amazing moment where he did this really quick like sigh, "I can't believe these idiots," and then, "Oh, let me get that for you," and his face just came back to life. It was super White Lotus. It was super Armand. It was super like, as soon as no one's looking at you, dead face, and then as soon as someone's looking at you, super happy face, right? And he did it. He had a moment that was really good.
Yeah, that guy was great.
Yeah,
I really liked him. So they're getting into the weird stuff.
So they get into the weird stuff. They do a ritual where they have to chug the blood of Dracula, but of course they're just gonna
and it's like
sample
the blood in all those old films just looks like too thick, and like I think at some points it looks a little frothy.
It did.
And I'm like,
did.
Why is the blood looking?
Well,
frothy?
remember this is resurrected blood from dirt. From
it's like the astronaut food of blood.
Yes, that's
just add water.
It's totally. This is something like Watley in The Martian was mixing together real quick to survive. So they do a ritual. Of course, it goes wrong. I have questions here, by the way. I couldn't follow because I expected them all to drink it. I mean, they paid a lot of money for this. Oh, by the way, we got to back up for a second. The buying Dracula in the Dracula store was an amazing scene that we should talk about. I mean, remember they go and he's like, show him the chest, and the guy pulls out the chest. And he's like, pulls out the cape. He pulls out the necklace, the locket. Yeah. He pulls out then the powder, the blood, like whatever. And they're all shuddering, like, ooh, Dracula, whatever. And you know that would have worked at the time because Hammer's reputation at the time was that it was the scariest stuff that you could see in mainstream movie because it was. Our movies were tamer than what Hammer was doing at the time. That was the point of Hammer at the time, right? So there's just amazing visuals going on here. But the guy that they buy Dracula from that we met before, he plays this scene so amazing. They're like haggling over Dracula's body. Like, what price? He's like, $1,000, $10,000. and the other guys are like, you know, we'll pay it. But I love that there's this little moments between them where one of them sort of wants to back out because what they're doing is starting to really get insane. And maybe they've never gone this insane before, and the guy knows it. And the other two pull them back in, right? They keep doing it to each other. But anyway, the scene of buying Dracula, which I've never seen before, I truly appreciate it. Now that I know the price of Draculas, I know what they go for, which is 1,000 guineas, it turns out.
How much is a guinea?
I don't know, but
they always say shit. Like,
we got to be able to come up with
like
1,000 guineas and get us
like, huh? How much is that? I have no idea.
Well, he said it like Dr. Evil $1 million. So it must have been a lot of money for them.
Turns out it's like $17.
Well, yeah, the three guys covered it pretty fast. They don't seem like the richest people ever. So
they had the world's best salesman there. That guy just every time the camera. What's that? I forget the character's name. The guy who's getting him into all the the horrors.
Joffrey Keane, the main guy.
He's every time the camera cuts to him saying so, he's just spitting like so much.
He's like a stage actor.
Yeah, so much spit flies from this guy's mouth. I'm not kidding. Take a shot every time this guy spits, and 30 minutes in, you're done. Like it's
the grossest drinking game.
It's disgusting.
The podcast has ever come up with. Okay, so they resurrect Dracula, and then the basic plot, or the rest of the movie, is that Dracula's on a revenge mission against them.
Well, no, he drinks the blood because they all back out, and then he's dying. They're like, "Well, let's just kick the shit out of him."
Yeah, they kill him.
Yeah,
right. Which I liked because that was dark.
Yeah, it very much turned into like a boys' club, like just like
right.
Do the worst thing. Fuck out.
Those guys are the three guys we're talking about here. They're basically what's his name? Henry Bowers in It, the guy who's the kid who's on Pennywise's side. They're basically the adult versions of that guy, right? They're just allied to the wrong forces, right?
Right. So he dies, and for some reason that triggers a dust storm in a church.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know why.
I don't know. Truly couldn't explain it.
Dracula's resurrected. Now, this was weird. When like it actually reveals Christopher Lee's face. It does that like Monty Python animation. Like,
oh yeah.
It you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like
that was a little strange.
Yeah, it's like people are like moving pieces of newspaper around, and then it reveals his face. Yeah. That was a little
I think there are some things going on here that are the Hammer version of what happens every time Daniel Craig comes back to a James Bond movie, where they like linger on him for that one first shot. They're like, yeah, we got Daniel Craig back. Like, relax, we got him. Like, I think there are things that were like meant to be big reveals, like the first time you see his face, or
Yeah.
the first time he shows up, that I think they were trying to oversell because they knew it was meaningful to the fans, right? It would be like if Iron Man came back, but the horror version.
And poorly, because that animation was so weird. Like,
And
why not just have him
and
there?
poorly, right?
Why not just have him there?
I agree, totally.
You know, that's like
that's the version of every. So if it'd be another Hammer movie, it would be like a great movie, but with an atrocious bat.
yes.
Right?
This was the bat.
This is the bat.
Yeah, that was the bat. Yeah,
I'm totally with you. Matter of fact, this should be a new category that we give movies now on this thing. Is it the bat? Like, is this
I
the
like
bat?
that.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
because everyone can see that visual of like the bat on a string.
Right. What's the bat? Right.
Yeah,
because the whole rest of the movie's good, but then there's the bat, and then now you're like, oh, this movie's good.
I like that. Okay, so that's gonna be fun to figure out for the rest of these.
It is.
Going forward.
Yeah, because we're going downhill in quality.
So there's we're probably gonna run into an actual bat.
I'm sure. Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt.
So Drax's back.
Yep. Revenge mission, which, by the way, is awesome because he has the humans executed, but human style, so they can't come back, and in a really insulting way, like Dr. Five style. He's sort of customizing his revenges, so he gets the one guy killed with a shovel.
Yeah,
which
the creepy perv dad.
Right, which is the human version of the stake. Right, you're gonna stake me in the heart. What happens to humans when you die? We put you in the ground with a shovel. Like he's killing you with the thing like that's our stake, right? So like he's got these subtle little ways of using the character's children against them, which I really like. He's sort of like an evil Pied Pipering all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Which I thought was cool.
I actually really like the lead up to the first parent death. That was like the heaviest scene. It's the one that heavily insists on like ancestral.
Oh, that was horrible.
Nastiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that scene was pretty like in the Dracula movie. That's the scariest scene. Like
right,
the way the dad walks in.
Absolutely.
So he catches his daughter going to a dance with Paul, which is just the weirdest.
Yeah, Paul is very strange.
Yeah, Paul's a character.
Yes.
He catches his daughter going to the dance with the person he doesn't like, and he like walks into a room and shuts the door. And he wants to like whip her.
Yes.
And it is the like most uncomfortable scene.
Super.
It might be the most uncomfortable scene in like all of the last Hollow. Here you go.
This is already number one at the top.
Yeah, it's already number one.
I agree, and part of it is that besides Lee, these are the two of the best actors I've seen in a Hammer Dracula movie with Lee. Both of these. So Linda Hayden, who's playing Alice, is awesome, and then we already talked about Jeffrey Dean, who's going to go on to be in James Bond, and he's really good and really creepy.
Yeah,
right. So I mean, you got great acting going on it with high level acting.
But her Alice's escape from her dad out the window to the first encounter with Dracula was pretty bitchin'.
Yeah, it was cool, and I loved that it was. So there's a payoff in that one. First of all, that was some of the best shots of the whole movie is when Alice meets Dracula for the first time. Just great how it's shot all the way around. But there's a foreshadowing where the mom and the daughter are talking. Then Alice says, Dad is mean to you. He crushed the life out of you. I'm not going to let anyone crush the life out of me. Then she runs out of her window. This poor character runs out of her window to escape this horrible whatever, and runs right into the arms of Dracula, who does the Cape Crush thing, like literally, like hugs her to like whatever. So it's such like she's trying not to get the life crushed out of her, and ends up literally undead, which is a kind of great character arc for a Hammer movie that doesn't need to be telling this level of story. I liked it.
The shovel kill.
Yep.
Was the shovel kill. I mean, it was Hammer effects,
Yes.
We've come quite a ways.
Yep.
And that guy, actually, I think that death is the first of the bad non-Christopher Lee close-ups.
Yes.
I think that's actually the first one that you get. And you're like, oh, Jesus, because you got like two more of them coming up.
Yes. So now Dracula is taking his revenge, right? And we basically we're basically heading to church, which since I've been craving Midnight Mass since we watched it and reviewed it in a previous episode, I was like, the setting was really cool. Do we need anything besides the ending at this point?
Dracula goes and kills the other two guys.
I mean, he's engineering their deaths, but he's
Yeah.
not actually killing them so much.
Yeah.
There is a moment. So I'll say this: like, there's a moment I really appreciate where Dracula finally decides to turn on. I think it's Alice, and it might be. Go ahead.
The end. He says something like, "You have no purpose for me."
No,
anymore.
it's before that. There's this moment when, because he's already bitten a couple of them. He's bitten Lucy. He's bitten
bit the
Alice,
one
but
dude.
Alice hasn't turned. Right?
Yeah, no, she doesn't. Yeah, she lives.
Right, exactly.
with
So
Paul.
maybe it's Lucy. It might be Lucy, but it doesn't matter because there's only 2 times this happens. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. There's this moment when he's doing the hypnotism thing, and then he's biting them. And there's moments where obviously the movie's trying to say they're enjoying it, or that he's hypnotized them into giving into it, or whatever. Right. So there's this moment where the actress is sort of like, I what am I going to do about this? And then he gets savage. He looks savage, and he goes in and goes too far, and now she's really bleeding.
That was the redhead.
Okay,
Yes.
right, and she's really bleeding, and he looks scary as hell in that moment, and you see why Christopher Lee was terrifying and generating fear.
Yeah, because he bites her a second time.
Exactly.
And she's like,
but it's way worse than the first time.
Right.
Exactly. And that's that. I like that there are moments where he actually gets to be frightening, because that's what it was known for originally. I know everything dates, but
Well, that's again, I keep going back to like now that I've seen this, I want to check out the original because I want to see him like actually
in the full glory of like. Right,
yes, I'm actually
of a great film. Right.
very excited.
Okay.
For it. So what?
So he dies of dying.
Yeah, that was actually my last note. Dracula dies by interior design.
Yes. Yes, it's puzzling. I noticed something weird about this, though. So let me see. I can't explain this ending, but because basically Dracula, I believe I believe what the movie thinks is happening is that Dracula had made his home in a desanctified church.
Yeah.
Which didn't have any power. It's sort of Fright Night. You have to have faith for that to work on me, right? Like thing. So the church had no power. So he literally could stay there, add insult to injury, stay in God's house, or commit crimes in God's house or whatnot. And I think Paul re-sanctified the church. I mean, he was running around putting artifacts around and white claws over black claws, and I think he re-sanctified the church. And I think the church re-sanctified itself, and that's what Dracula was seeing. We actually got a POV shot.
At the end you do see like through Drac's vision,
right? Which I like the Drac vision. We don't get
that was a cool
POV exactly.
That was a great.
I think he died because the church got re-sanctified. I don't think it's particularly well done necessarily, but it's weird
I like
enough
to
be interesting.
I like the shot that we were talking about previously of the church, because like the organ's back and beautiful.
It was like Carnival of Souls stuff.
Yeah, but I also like the camera, the POV of Drac, where like it's falling down to where eventually they do that cheesy Wolfman transition thing, because that's how
you have to.
Everyone dies. One thing that I noticed, for some reason, I really liked the music when Alice and Paul are together. They sort of have like their like love theme.
It's
or whatever.
interesting, yeah.
It's honestly like it's a beautiful little piece of music.
That's interesting.
The music during the end fight scene is hot garbage. I don't know what is it like. It's so.
Well, that's you should go further down the Hammer catalog, because like by Dracula 80, 1972. Oh man,
I don't know what happened, but like if you listen to like if you listen to like when Alice and Paul are together, the music's really beautiful.
Yep.
End of it, I can't describe why it's so bad. It's just, it feels like a different dude was just making the music.
That's so funny.
I maybe I'm alone on this, but if you're listening and you watch it, like let me know if you think like the music just doesn't fit for some reason, and I maybe someone can explain to me why. Or
no, I was like sold on I was sold on the music when I realized it was relaxing I was relaxing to the good music, the good parts, right? In a way, sort of like you get with a Hitchcock Vertigo, just on a much lower scale, whatever. But it was that vibe. You could just relax into it. The some of the music when there was this hilarious moment when the coach started going really fast. And and that music was also a little. Was the guy's name Benny Hill or whatever is the
Yakety Sax?
Yeah, it's kind of that. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. There's hits and misses in there.
Definitely. And I thought I was crazy because yesterday, because I watched the movie today, I watched the ending scene yesterday, and it like really stood out to me. So then I listened to the soundtrack, and I was like, well, this isn't like as bad as the other one. It's just a weird thing. I don't know what this is, and maybe this is like one time off thing where it's just like the music's fine, but in one part stands out. Like the music could be the bat.
That's really interesting, huh? I mean the thing is I didn't notice so much, so maybe this is gonna make a lot more sense once you've seen a couple more Hammer, because then if you feel that way about all of them, then you just feel away about what they're doing.
Well, the guy who composed this did like a lot of Hammer,
right?
So.
That's
That's
what I'm afraid of for you.
Yeah. Well, it's only when there's like action, like when there's supposed to be
right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
happening.
Right. I don't know. That might just be what's happening here for you, but we'll see. We'll find out. I didn't notice it, which worries me because it sounded like other Hammer movies to me, which doesn't bode well for how you're going to feel about it. Here's the thing, though. So there's that. That's for sure. I actually really liked the fact that Dracula got a little complexified here, where he wasn't the only villain. I mean, there are certainly people in this movie doing as bad of things as Dracula is shown doing in this movie, right? So there's human villains, like sort of like a Dickens novel would have, right? That are really, really bad people. And so usually it's just Dracula and then whoever Dracula's manipulating and then really good people, right? Who might be corrupt in the Hammer version, definitely, like whatever. That they do that a lot. But I really appreciated it here because they got moved to the center of the movie. Whereas before, it's always the peripheral people who are like corrupt priests or whatever, like in the last movie, like whatever. But in this one, we focused on them a lot, and it kind of worked for one time. I wouldn't want to see it a lot, but it worked for me for one.
I would like to see them do it again, but write it as if Dracula's, as if Christopher Lee was always going to be. That's the thing. Is I do think this movie probably would have been a lot better if they just assumed. Right. Because everything else, like a lot of the other dialogue stuff,
totally,
and like beats of the film, I thought they did like pretty well.
Right.
So,
but that's the thing is, I actually really liked for one time that there was a feeling of kind of what Star Wars did to Snoke, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like, no, you're not. No, the replacement is we're not actually going with that, right? Because the character in here that isn't Christopher Lee, the guy who's running the ritual, whatever, was supposed to be the next guy who inherited.
There's no way. There's just no way that dude.
Right, but that was kind of what was fun to me, I guess, is that Christopher Lee was like, I only need 2 minutes to take care of the situation.
Yeah.
Right? So I know it was accidental, but the vibe of it was the reputation of Dracula is enough to deter most comers. And then the few people who slip through, Dracula's like, I'll just flick you away. So he shows up and he's like, I got a revenge plan, execute it, I'm out. Right? It's sort of Jigsaw feeling. I liked it for one time. You're right. Usually it would be annoying, but for some reason it worked for me in this movie.
Yeah. Was there anything else that bugged me? The only other thing that sort of bugged me was the action, like Dracula reacting to like the crucifixes and stuff in the church.
That's mostly not good.
A lot of the times it looks like he took a massive shit. There's no toilet paper.
Yeah.
Like that's the face you make.
A lot of that was not good. I don't know why that was not good. There was one great moment where the cross actually glowed, and it might be. Yeah, I'm including religious movies. It might be the most convincing glowing cross power
that was cool
shot that I've ever seen. It was kind of like the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones, You've Chosen Wisely, like level of holy power
Yeah.
coming out of an object, right? Like for some reason they totally knew how to sell that cross. I don't know why.
But then every other time there's a cross or something like that, Christopher Lee just does this like
Right.
he like leans back. Right.
But the reaction shots were a little. I just want to. The last thing I really only want to talk about this is that I thought it was very interesting that the religious power in this movie got really weird. So in most of the other Hammer ones I remember, definitely the movie before this one, there's a lot of priest or the exorcist action. You've got a Karras character. You've got like a Max von Sydow, showing up and representing, how the religious power is going to be brought in. There's none of that in this movie, right? And so they keep talking about faith and the religious stuff and whatnot. But
even leaving church in the beginning of the movie.
Right, but it's coming from quote-unquote civilians, right?
Yeah.
Who are kind of making it up as they go along. So it's messy and inefficient the way... It would be like Poltergeist, but if the family was just trying to figure it out without bringing in the paranormal consultant, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you're getting here, is a bunch of people freelancing how to use holy power against the encroaching darkness and not doing a great job at it. And I love that there was that vibe. And then when Dracula's finally taken out, there's literally no exorcist. It's the building, mm-hmm. right? It's the actual church. So it's kind of Final Destination-ish. The power that's at work in this movie, we're never seeing it, right? There's no real representative of the holy power. We see a cross glowing, but we don't see any priests. We hear people talk about faith, but they're also the same people who are like going to the bar and like doing weird things over here. So it all feels like, who knows how to use, like the Force? Who really knows how to use this? Where are the Jedis? There's no Jedis here at all. And in all the other Hammer movies, and a lot of other movies like this, like in the Conjuring series or whatever, the Jedis are the Warrens, or the Jedis are, the people you're bringing in that are those legendary characters we all know. The person who knows when they come in. There's no person who knows here at all.
It's just Paul.
It's just Paul. It's just Paul freelancing. Right. So and I think that's kind of great. It was a weird way to do it. And for one time, I thought it was interesting that they did it. And I was like, is this the art house touch in the plot? That one moment where the director was like, this is for me, or I'm going to try something weird.
It's got to be, because that is Dracula's biggest L. Like
to lose to,
he keeps coming back. He keeps coming back, and they're like, "Who defeated you this time?" It's like Dr. Abraham Van Helsing. Like, who killed you this time? Paul. Like, what? Drac, come on, man.
Right. If Vegas would have had Paul versus Dracula, you would have won a lot of money.
I would have.
Back in Paul.
Well, I don't feel like I lost a lot of money or time.
You did not,
because I didn't.
No,
I mean, this movie feels, it's an hour and 30, but it feels shorter than that.
That's good,
but it's not a bad thing.
No, I know what you mean.
So where would you? It's 58%.
Right, dude. This is to me, this is an absolute 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just short of like the top quarter of movies. I know that there are things in here that are not that well done. I know there are corny things. I know, like, whatever, but that's the thing, is there are movies that we all love, even though we know there are things in them that are not that well done or not that great, or the director 10 years later did it way better when they learned because it was their first movie, right? But it's so weird and charming it worked, right? This is the weird, charming Hammer movie for me before. The other ones never felt weird and charming. They felt like they were really, really well done, or obviously trying to cash in on some kind of trend, like we're going to show you a bunch of nudity, or we're going to show you a bunch of real gore, or like whatever. It was kind of there was no in between. This is this weird hybrid Hammer movie that's like a little artsy. I don't know, 74. What do you got? You have a 33% look on your face.
No, I got.
Just so you know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
But go do it.
I'd probably go.
Drop the hammer on Hammer.
70.
That's a lie. There's no way you feel this is.
No, okay. Honestly, my first answer, no, because I was trying to, as you were talking, I was trying to sell myself on 70.
No way.
I think it's 62.
I'll accept that. I don't even believe you think. I think you think it's 55. If I had to guess your true percentage,
there's more that I enjoyed than I disliked.
Okay. Well, I mean, then by definition, that should be over 50.
Yes.
Right. So then it's just where over 50, 55. It doesn't matter. It's your rating. It's fine.
I think 62 is
Oh,
solid.
no, I'll take it. That's great. I think because that's fresh. That's a fresh rating. Besides the rating, though, I feel like the one thing I know for sure that I never feel about a movie that truly should be, one of those movies that's like a 20%, whatever feeling about this movie, is I will watch this again. Guaranteed 100%. Sometime before I die, I'll watch this movie again. Maybe not all the way through, but I'll sit through a significant part of this movie. And I never feel that if the movie was bad, right? Because there are hilarious things that happen in this movie. There are weird things. There are questions I still have, but I'm not going to go back and do it right away. Like, it's going to be like 5 years from now. But I'll watch this movie again, and that's a good sign.
I will watch the other
You will.
Hammer movies.
That's also a good sign. You're not totally deterred.
Yeah, I think this is a good jumping off point.
A good taste.
A good taste, but not because that blood looks gross. I can't. I don't know. Some of the way
dusty blood. It's gross.
Yeah, it was like dusty. All blood in like 70s movies just looks off. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It looked like Grindhouse. It looked like Planet Terror blood there.
It really did. So okay, well that's 58%.
That's 58%. And now we're headed one notch lower to 57%. We'll probably poll it to the.
Okay, I was going to ask, do we have one in mind?
No, no, we don't. That's that. I'm trying to know as little about what's ahead as possible, so that people can help collaborate and pick some for us or suggest some for us that are. If I go and look,
we
at
actually
all
have
of them
some
now,
suggestions, which
I
is
know,
great
which
because
is
I don't know if
fantastic.
we got hardly any last time we did the.
No, we're getting lots of suggestions, which we really appreciate. That we've been suggested the Burbs a little further down. I think that's like 52, 54%, which we're heavily considering because neither of us have seen it.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
But I just haven't checked to see if there's something else in that percentage point. We only get one crack at the percentage point is the problem.
I know.
So if there's like a truly great movie,
I don't see that. I don't buy that argument because we got 57 more of these assholes to get through. You know what I mean?
Well, true. That's a good point.
We
have plenty of runway.
Yeah, we are fluent in film.
But there's only one time. You're only going to get one time to do Monster Squad, and then it's gone. So that's the kind of. I just got to look and make sure there's no like must-have movie right next to it. But I love the suggestions, and we will probably take the grouping of suggestions and poll them in the groups. So be sure to join there if you haven't.
Yeah, that's where we get all of our stuff, and Twitter. Twitter's a good one too.
Yeah. Well, you know what's the interesting is every time I think to myself Twitter's aggravating me or I'm done with it or whatever, I'll either Bruce Campbell or Barbara Crampton will tweet something amazing. I don't know if they're reading our minds or what's going on, but they're so good at just the right amount of interaction but like totally authentic in presentation of what they're saying. It's like you're standing at a convention, like eavesdropping on a conversation, but it's their Twitter.
I like Twitter.
That's what it's good at.
I like Twitter. I like the notifications because like we don't really do a lot of shit there. But like, let me tell you something. Twitter, I got this is how I want to end the show. Ed Begley Jr. is alive.
Oh my God! This blew my mind. This conversation was.
I was on Twitter, like we were hanging out, and there was a post by Ed Begley Jr. like holding a grandson or some shit like that. And I was like, oh, that's weird. They're like Herman Caning, like his thing, like he's gone, but they're keeping it going. But he was like talking to people on Twitter, and I was like, wait a minute, is he alive? And he's still alive. And I am so certain, you guys, I am so certain that we did an episode about Tales from the Crypt, and I referred to him as the late Jr. Like I'm
100%.
I am actually 100% that I refer.
I'm 100% sure that exists. And I'm 95% sure that I bumped on it when you said it, but wasn't sure enough he was alive to stop you.
Yeah, that's the thing. But you got to understand, that's not the first time this has happened to me. I thought Frankie Valli died years ago.
Wait, we can't go off Ed Begley Jr. yet because there's a couple things going on here. First of all, say his name again.
Oh, God.
Say it.
Ed Ed
I
Begley
fucked it
Jr.
up. I fucked it up. Well, now we only have it. Now I've ruined it. You say it, Ed Begley Jr., and it's like it sounds like Beagle, and it's cracking me up, and it's been cracking me up the entire time you do it. But
is it?
It could be true. I have no. What do I know? I have no idea. You'll check while we're talking, so whatever. But I have no idea how to actually pronounce it. I've always known it as Ed Begley Jr., like bagel, but what do I know? There's something about the way that's being said that is cracking me up. It's like a whatever. So first of all, there's that. Second of all,
Bagley.
Whatever.
Yeah,
like,
Bagle.
Yeah.
Bagley.
Bagley.
Yeah, Bagley. Bagley. I'm gonna go with Bagley.
You go whatever you want. It's hilarious. The second thing is, you didn't tell them that you thought Ed Begley Jr. was Fred Willard.
Yeah,
which explains why you thought Ed Begley Jr. was dead.
But I think I might have thought that before Fred Willard died. So this is just.
But the most mind blowing thing of all of this, guys, anyone who's listening, is that Nick is way too young to know who Ed Begley Jr. even is.
That's not.
There's no way. I know he's in the mockumentaries, and that's where you would know him, like whatever. But it's not enough, man. It's just not enough. He's not present enough in present culture. He doesn't pop up in other cameos.
True.
There's no like weird Ed Begley Jr. fan club Facebook page that has 33,000 people in it, like which is a requisite for like every. Fred Willard definitely has a Fred Willard Facebook group, guaranteed. And Ed Begley Jr. does not. You should not know who this man is. So when you kept saying his name, I was like, what is going on? It would be like you getting obsessed with like a bit player from MASH, the TV show or something. I was like, what's happening here?
Well, no, because that happened to me before with Frankie Valli.
Right, okay, now we're here.
Because I really like the song Can't Take My Eyes Off You. It's probably like my favorite song of all time.
Right.
And Alex and I started dating, and she got me tickets to see Frankie Valli, and I thought it was the stage play Jersey Boys, like the thing about Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
Of course.
And I was like, "Oh, Frankie Valli," and I was like, "It's kind of weird. He's dead. Like maybe it's like a tribute band or something. I don't know. I don't know." And then Alex looks at me, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, he's alive." So.
Should I be laughing this hard at this? Oh
yeah,
my god.
We were the youngest people at that concert. Dude, there was a part like that crowd was so old they didn't want to stand up. I remember like the guy there was I was here, I was in this row, there was a guy the row in front
on
of
a
me.
podcast now that was here this row. Sure. He's got his hands in front of him.
Imagine a row in front of me. People have sat in theater seating. They know how a row works. Imagine you're sitting in a
rows.
You're sitting in your row.
We know how rows work.
The person in front of you to the right was this old guy who was just mad as whatever for whatever reason because the guy in front of him was standing up.
And he was the only one, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was other people, people in the front, and some people dispersed, around the theater, standing up, clapping to the golden oldies. And that guy, I mean, he looks at the guy in front of him, and he just goes, "Sit down." And I laughed so hard because they're all just a bunch of old fucks with terrible knees.
Oh my!
And I thought,
God.
and then I got kind of.
And you're there, like just wanting to be there, legitimately.
Yeah, wanted to be there.
Frankie Valli.
Yeah, and he wasn't singing shit. That was he was dubbing. But
right.
So then Frankie waddles out. And he goes, "Stand up, everybody!" And then the guy who was yelling stood up, and I was like, "So your knees have worked, Jerry?" So I don't know.
Oh,
there was almost a geriatric fight at a Frankie Valli concert 10 years ago. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, you've had these experiences, assuming people are dead, and they lead to these amazing adventures. I love that you thought the Frankie Valli tribute band called itself Frankie Valli, and you were like, "That's weird." Like you're not supposed to exactly. Like, what would the Frankie Valli tribute band? What should it be called? Like, if you were going to do a Frankie Valli tribute band,
I would call it the Frankie Valli tribute band because
you wouldn't call it just Frankie Valli, right? Okay, that's my point. Is that's
but my first thought though was probably the stage play, and I was like, but isn't it called like Jersey Boys or something? Like my brain,
Right.
wasn't
because
able to
he's dead. It was finding other reasons that made sense.
Yeah, my brain
Totally.
clearly was like, because the part of it was I really liked the music, and I was like, if I Google it and he's dead, I'm just gonna be crushed. So I just didn't. I just let it sit as a mystery in my brain for like a couple years, and yeah, he's alive.
I like what we're gonna have to do on the podcast is occasionally I'll just throw out a name and you'll tell me if they're dead or alive.
They're dead or alive.
Like Larry Hagman, he played JR on Dallas.
I feel like he probably died like last year or some shit.
Yeah, he's dead.
Okay, that was recent though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, relatively.
Okay.
All right, so but we'll do this.
I like this.
Occasionally, I'll just toss you a name as we're going, and we'll.
The good news is the odds are on my side. It's just a coin toss. I can just fucking guess.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm trying to think if there's anyone ambiguous. Like, is any Hollywood celebrity gone missing and not? Probably not. That's a really weird thing that would happen.
I would have guessed. I don't know, like Ricky. Or God, not Ricky. Mickey Rourke. Because that guy. Yeesh.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more along the lines of
Mickey Rooney. That's that one. I would guess dead.
He's definitely dead.
But you never know because some of those people,
star and the name of his star might be worn away.
That's the thing. Is like
you're right though. Some of them live.
Some of them they live under the radar
totally,
and then they die, and it's like the person who invented the camera dies at 108.
No, that actually just happened with Olivia de Havilland.
The Gone with the Wind.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Which
some
is
of
amazing.
those.
She was like riding a bike when she was 101. Jeez, God, hopefully, if anyone could, like, what a life. So, but yeah, you're right. All of a sudden they'll emerge. I mean, whatever. You have a Lillian Gish thing that happens, and she's from that era.
Oh God. Well,
yes.
Ed Begley.
And well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I never looked
Eddie
it
B.
up.
Jr.
Eddie B.
Eddie B. Jr.
That you, for some reason, were really stuck on whether he was alive or dead.
Ed Jr. still alive. So.
Good news, everybody.
Okay, well, let us know what we should do for 57. It looks like we're going to poll it, so I'm excited to see what.
And it can be from anywhere. It could be from any aggregator site that you use. And I feel like I don't want to have to do this every point of the series, but we understand. Like, we feel the same way you do. The aggregator sites suck. Caring about the ratings is not what the series is about. What the series is about is proving that the ratings are wrong. Proving that we can find enjoyable stuff, or at least really enjoyable moments in maybe questionable stuff, all the way down the scale, and that all this stuff should be higher rated. You'll notice most of the episodes conclude with us giving a rating that isn't at what it's currently at. Because
for now,
we think they're wrong. Yeah, once in a while, but a broken clock twice a day, right? So like they're aggregated sites. This is not a pro aggregated site. I think it's the guideposts we use. Like I use the guideposts here on these hideous LA freeways, like whatever, when it rains and everything's just ugly because the city's not designed for water at all, right? Like I don't think they look particularly good, but I'm going to use them because I don't want to go flying off one of these bridges into
and I do use Rotten Tomatoes quite a bit. I'm like, should I?
Right, you can
this?
shortcut if you want, but being caring about it, like whatever, that's not what it is about.
No,
this is actually about the opposite of it, right? Exactly. Nick doesn't even care about spoilers. All right.
No, I mean, I'd be hard pressed for someone to spoil something for. I was even thinking that with like the new like Marvel Spider-Man stuff. Like if those got spoiled, would I care? Nah.
So you've reached the point where...
No, I feel like I've reached my zen with spoil. Like nothing.
Well, you've always been really cavalier about spoilers ever since I've known you, like more than me. Like I'm not a person who cares, but I feel like there are movies where it really matters, right? Or events where it really matters. I would have hated, for example, Weird, that we're talking about this on November 10th, which is the day R.I.P. Maddie Ferguson, Twin Peaks, where we found out who killed Laura Palmer. I would have hated if I'd known the ending of Twin Peaks: The Return. Like if someone had just given it to me, like been like, here's the last 2 minutes of it. I've been looking forward to it for like 25 years, right?
It's a little different.
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying is there are some times where I think they matter, but most times I don't think they matter. But you struck me as a person where they never matter.
Nope.
But you're really there now.
Catch me giving a shit.
You're really there now.
Cool. All right. Well, until next time, stay scary, watch a bunch of horror movies. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye, guys.